Hi guys, this is Kiara Roy. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to the It Girl Guide series part 2. The topic for today is reinvent yourself anytime you want. I think this is probably going to be one of my favorite topics for the It Girl Guide series. So, let's start with what does reinvention really mean? So, when we talk about reinvention and reinventing yourself, it is basically when you intentionally and consciously decide that, okay, I want to reinvent myself, I want to evolve, I want to change my very own self for the better, for the betterment of myself, and that could include multiple factors. So it includes the way you sort of deal with everyday stuff, your way of dealing with your problems, the way you cope with certain situations in life, the way you feel about certain things in life, your coping mechanisms, your mentality. So the first point that I want to discuss in this video is you decide to evolve without guilt and without permission. Now, what does that exactly mean? I've seen so many people, and even myself sometimes, I sort of kind of wait to reach a particular point in life or sort of a particular milestone so I could change, or like a pit stop, you could say, or a turning point, so as to say. But you really don't need something like that to change. You can just wake up on a random Monday and say, okay, this version of me no longer serves me or no longer fits my lifestyle that I would be needing to incorporate into my own life to reach a particular self of mine that I aspire to be, or that would serve me in a much better way. And it's as simple as that. Especially when we sort of talk about the romanticizations of eras that we often see on social media, you sort of wait for something dramatic to happen to you in order to change, like hitting the rock bottom, going through a breakup, whatever. You do not need for something to happen to you so you can get an excuse to change, so you sort of reach your new era. No, you can simply choose today that, okay, I need to evolve myself for the better, and it doesn't particularly have to be for some new era of yours. It could just be as simple as you wanting to reach a better self of you, and so you can evolve as a person and hence change your life for the better. And it's as simple as it gets. Another really important point I want to talk about is reinvention is not about trying to be someone else or trying to be fake or faking your very own personality and who you really are. No, it simply means aligning with your authentic self and sort of improving in a way so you can align with your very own self, be yourself. But that also does not mean that you allow for all the bad habits that you may have, or maybe the wrong habits that you may have, but sort of bettering yourself and knowing that, okay, this isn't right for me and this is right for me. So today I'm going to choose this instead of this. The second point that we are going to talk about today is you need to release the expired version of you. People often keep the same old habits, the same old people around them because they sort of feel comfortable with them. Now, that does not mean you got off your childhood friend or your childhood best friend, but just the wrong habits or the wrong people that you've been hanging out with just because it feels comfortable to be with them, or just because it feels like you sort of owe it to them and to yourself to kind of stay in touch with those habits or those people. But that could be so wrong for your future. Simply means that you no longer need to shrink yourself into a version of yourself that no longer serves you or that no longer aligns with your future, because that is never gonna end well for you or your future, and you're never gonna reach the version of you that you eventually want to reach, and that is never gonna serve you well. The point that I want to add is that this does not mean that you sort of forget your past. It simply means to let go of all the wrong things that you haven't been as comfortable to let go, and deep within your unconscious or your preconscious knows that it's wrong. And you could simply kind of write a letter to your former self, saying thank you, paying a tribute to it, because letting go is not easy. And you know that your past self has been through so much, but it has been through all of it, so you could sort of shift or transform into a better version of yourself. So it's only complementing your past and your past self in order to make a better future. And it's as simple as it gets. Remember that outgrowing is not betrayal, it's self respect. And you're simply paying homage or a tribute to your past self in order to grow towards a better future. And your past self is going to be nothing but happy looking at you, at your future self, and seeing how far you've come or how much you've evolved for a better you. And that I want to talk about is you need to make a new era vision board with depth and not just aesthetics. So many people make mood boards at the end of the year for the new year, and which is only based on the following trends, sort of trending aesthetics, hoping that it's gonna fill the gap, but it is not gonna fill the gap. Moment, take a deep breath and think to your own self that what does my future self look like, or what does a leveled version of me look like to me, which aligns with my authentic self and which is not based on Pinterest but based on purpose and depth, and basically which screams you and your authentic self. It should align with your truth, with your purpose, with your authentic self, and then you sort of make a mood board or a vision board based on that and not based on Pinterest. And then you work towards it, because the more real it's going to be to you and the less you fake it, the more motivated you're going to be to work towards it, like that vision of yours that you have envisioned for your own self. And that's only going to be better for you and even easier for you, because you're always gonna really want to sort of chase that and reach that self of yours, which isn't rooted in aesthetics or trends which change every 1 or 2 years, but it is based with your truth or your purpose or whatever you want to be eventually. Yourself today and write it all down, like, okay, what does my future self tolerate, what does my future self no longer chase, and what does my future self no longer tolerates, what does my future self really aim for, or what is the main goal that it sort of wants to work towards, and sort of go about it, and then create a vision board for your own self by making categories for your future self or your new era or your new vision. The first category is going to be energy. What is the type of energy that you would want to go for, or you would wish that you radiate off to other people? Is it someone who's very calm? Is it someone who's very magnetic? Someone who's very grounded? It could be anything that you like. The second category should be habits. Very simple. Could be something as small as you waking up early in the morning. Could be something as essential as someone who has very strong boundaries. And that's how you sort of write it down on a piece of paper and then make your vision board around it, so it sort of screams you and not just something that you made based on the current trends of Pinterest. No, not like that. Something that's rooted in your purpose and aligns with your truth. And that's how you should go about it. Fourth point that I want to talk about is you shift physically to anchor that energetic change that you need in your life. Now, what does that mean? It basically could mean something as simple as, changing your environment. Now, I'm not going to say go book a flight to your favorite country and go on a detox vacation. I mean, go ahead if you can, why not? But start with the smaller changes, something as small as decluttering your room, deep cleaning your room, change your closet, declutter it, remove all those outfits that you never really liked or that no longer speak you. Something as small as changing the lighting settings of your room, changing the candles that you have on your desk, making a new playlist for your room, changing the scent that you wear very often, which may no longer suit you or suit what you want to become and no longer speak as well to you as it did few months back. Something as small as that. And even these simple small changes can bring about such a big change in your life. It's going to be so helpful for anyone, because when you see that little change with your own eyes, the new candle that you bought, the new scent that you're going to wear, that becomes your essential scent, or the scent that speaks me, or that speaks you. You're going to manifest that into your life, and you're going to manifest good changes and eventually become what you vision to become. And this may sound very corny to some of you, or may sound like it's not that big of a deal, but trust me, this is a sort of manifestation technique which works wonders. And this is something that I personally love to do. And something as small as changing your hairstyle. Who would have thought? Nobody, right? Yeah. So it's just as simple as it gets. And it's really fun. Also, you're kind of experimenting with your own self. And it's fun and it's experimental and you're taking risks. Let's talk about our fifth point, which is you start to live like her even if you don't feel like her. Fake it till you make it. It's as simple as it gets. Just fake it till you make it, because you are eventually going to make it. Another manifestation technique that works wonders. I love doing this, genuinely. For example, let's say you're stuck in a situation. You sort of wait. Take a deep breath and just think, okay, what would she do? What would my future self do if she were to be stuck in the same situation? And just sort of incorporate that into every situation that you go about throughout your daily life. Like something as small as, okay, I'm no longer gonna check my phone in the morning or before my morning tea or coffee. Or something as small as, okay, I'm gonna start waking up early. Okay, I'm gonna take that workout session seriously. Something as small as that can bring very big changes into your life, and it definitely helps. So yeah, the sixth point, you need to start gatekeeping your energy. That basically means that you might seek validation from other people. You might sort of think that you owe it to your past self, or those past habits or past friends that no longer serve you, to still be with them, or over-explaining your change and over-explaining everything. You need to stop doing that and start to set boundaries with everyone. And it isn't rude. If someone thinks it's rude, they need to, that's them, that's their thinking. But you need to understand that setting boundaries is not rude, except it's maturity and it's simply self-respect. I love this quote where they say that you do not need to defend your evolution to someone who was never meant to grow with you. And that is so beautiful and so true, that you do not need to defend your own self. If that's serving you and it's good for you and it isn't harming anyone, why should it bother someone else? It should not. And anyways, let's be honest, quiet detachment is much, much, much better than loud announcements. And you really don't need to sort of unfollow in anger. Rather, unfollow those habits or those people from your life with peace. Do it with peace, and it's going to serve you in the long run. Last but not the least, we are going to talk about document that journey and not just the glow up. People often think that, okay, I'm going to do this particular task or do that particular task when I'm finally healed or finally better or finally evolved to this future version that I've always envisioned to be. But what you do not realize is that the journey is as important as that glow up of yours. Because oftentimes I feel like even during that journey and even during that healing, the way you transition from your past self to your future self is so beautiful. And if we do not celebrate those little wins and pay tribute to that, I think what's the point then? Because the journey is as beautiful as the glow up. Growth may not always be visible, but one day when you look back at it and see the bigger picture of life, you're gonna eventually realize that, oh, okay, it was one of the most beautiful transitions or transformations of my life of all times. And I think nostalgia especially plays a great role for this. It sort of makes you want to romanticize even the most traumatic parts of your life, which at the end of the day is important, because you wouldn't have been where you are without all those traumatic parts of your life, those events that happened with you, those that make you you. Because at the end of the day, they definitely are important because they contribute to your growth and your transformation. So it is as important to talk about those things that might be a little bit uncomfortable to you, and those traumatic events that may have happened to you. Also, I realized I never really properly concluded my first video. Never mind. So I'm just gonna conclude this video by saying that it's never too late, and you do not need to sort of reach a milestone or achieve that goal to start reinventing yourself for the better. You can start today, you can start whenever you want, but the day you actually start to choose taking power over your choices, you're gonna thank me later. Anyways, bye guys. Love you.